Good morning sa tanan. And again, welcome to our first Buka Talk of the College of Education. So for those who are asking for the attendance, I just posted the attendance on the chat box. So please feel free to click the link and make attendance for today. All right. So to welcome us, my dear colleagues, in this endeavor, in this program, allow me to call in our our all right, okay, all right, our assistant dean of the College of Education, Dr. Luel G. Lucero. Sir.
Good morning, colleagues. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to this Buka Talk. Today, we will hear a sharing of best practices and reflections from select faculties from the various departments of the College of Education on the implementation of innovative, flexible learning this time of pandemic. We are also honored to have our plenary speaker who will be introduced later. Before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you who generously helped us make this event come together to become a success. We could not have done it without you. Dr. Amelia Tibuan, our college dean, for the unending support, to Dr. Roxanne Consolacion, our FMC coordinator, and her team, the peer mentors, and the various department faculty of the college. In today's virtual gathering, I would like to focus on the faculties who will share their experiences during the implementation of NFLEX learning delivery for the past 2 semesters. You have all been chosen to share your best practice and reflections. We are grateful for your sense of commitment to help our college deliver quality education across our learners. Looking forward that through this, we can help each other grow and be more productive and effective in the implementation of our innovative, flexible learning delivery. I will not take too much of your time. Today will be fun and full of learning. So a very warm welcome to each one of you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Luel Lucero. And what a good start, right? Sir Luel already showed us how we can actually utilize technology for our advantage in this online learning, no, in our inflex modality. So without any further ado, allow me to call in our colleague from the DTTE, uh, Ma'am Avril Joy Ramayan, to introduce to us our esteemed speaker for today. Ma'am Joy?
Good morning, everyone. My task is to introduce our plenary speaker for this morning's activity. Our speaker has recently graduated just last July 16, 2021, of the degree of the Doctor of Philosophy in Science Education at Philippine Normal University, Manila. She is one of the pioneers and the trainer of blended learning, online teaching, and mole. Her talk is about thinking together through community of practice. I'm so proud to introduce to you, and let us also welcome her because she is now being reinstated and will be back in our department. From the department, our colleague from the Department of Technology Teacher Education, my good friend, I can now call you Dr. Ria Febro Confessor.
Uh, Thank you for the introduction, my dear friend. A real joy. Pero it's quite a long introduction, ma. I informed Ma'am Avril yesterday na not a very long introduction. Okay. Okay. Let me share my screen. Is that okay? Sure. Can you see now? Can you see my presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But it's in,
It's
in
like, how do I share this? Okay. Okay. So
Yep.
once again, good morning, everyone. I'm quite nervous. It's been a while. I haven't talked to a lot of people for a long time. I've only been talking to my advisor. So it's my first time to talk to quite a lot of people. And I'm quite nervous because I just learned that this is the first Buka Talk. I thought that you've been doing this every month or uh, uh, more frequent than I thought I realized now. Okay, so my talk is about thinking together through communities of practice, and I think we already belong to a community. I think you would all agree with me na in one way or another, in one form or another, we belong to a community. Whether it's a community in the department, community in the college, in our church community, and all these things. So we belong to this community. But some of us quite don't know yet that these communities of practice is also a means for us to learn as well. And for the college, it could be a means for us to leverage this community of practice and achieve more of our goals if we know and understand more about it. So the parts of my presentation would include definition of community of practice, the components of practice, learning in COP, factors for the formation and maintenance, its contributions to teacher development, and cultivating communities of practice. For the factors and contributions, this comes from a bit from my dissertation, and then the rest comes from literature because I think that my data would not actually apply to our setting in the College of Education. So what is community of practice? Community of practice is a concept based on the idea that learning is a social process whereby knowledge is co-constructed in a specific context and embedded within a particular social and physical environment. So this communities of practice started from the research of uh, um, Leave and Wenger when they studied apprenticeship, uh, um, because they noticed that learning could not come from do not really come from like a formal classroom. Learning can also come from being in a community, much like of a journeyman and the master craftsman, for example. So just like that. So in the apprenticeship setup, and they noticed that when we learn, um, that learning in that type of format or in apprenticeship, we the for example the journeyman became like he is in, or a person is in the periphery, but then this person, for example, ako, I'm learning from Mom Ami. So I'm a legitimate person learning, but I'm yet at the periphery. So that's why they call it legitimate peripheral participation. So that's basically COP. And it also started with other persons that would um, that we can attribute communities of practice also from is also Polanyi. Polanyi is a chemist, and he in his laboratory work he noticed that there are aspects in his teaching and in his profession that he cannot teach to his students just by pure instruction. And he mentioned that it is through indwelling that his students can learn from his experiments and his or more about chemistry. So yun na. So that's so therefore there's Polanyi and Lev and Wenger. And so from there, a lot of theory, this communities of practice concept came out. But it's Etienne Wenger who basically conceptualize these communities of practice. So communities of practice, according to him, is a group of people who share a concern or passion for something they do and learn how to do it better as they interact regularly. So therefore, from that definition, we somehow belong to a communities of practice, right? So in the College of Education, I think in our departments, you can say that our departments like DTTE, DSME, DPE, and DPRE belong to a community of practice. But he mentioned as well that there are three structural characteristics of community of practice, and this includes the domain, the practice, and the community. So therefore, not all community can be a community of practice. And so it has to have these three. So the domain, so what do they do? What are their common interests? So that's the domain. And then okay, so the community, we can't say that it's a if it's just a group of people, then it's not a community of practice. So they have to interact regularly. So for example, if your department is not talking as much, then it's not a community of practice, according to Wenger. And also practice, there has to be learning in that department, or if we call it a community of practice. For example, in DTTE, we should be learning something, and we need to do it better from what we used to have, what we used to. So that's a community of practice. And community of practice has been very useful in not only in education setup, but also in the fields, most specifically in the business sector, in the financial sector, because businessmen and of huge organizations have understood the value of these communities of practice. Although before, it's not really there's no interest yet on communities of practice, but now more and more companies are applying it because it's good for knowledge management. And these communities of practice in many organizations are quite informal, in informal setup. It started with, for example, the study of Brown and Duguid, for example. It's a very highly cited now work. I'll show later. It's about these representatives in the Xerox company. So who met a lot of problems when they are repairing machines. So this group of people, this group of repairmen started to meet every lunch, and then from there they tried to like create a organize their tricks and solutions to their problems that they created. And later on, the management of Xerox started to get interested in these practices. So for later on, as the concept of communities of practice grew, so these communities of practice has been again applied and used, particularly in knowledge management. And now specifically, like the Japanese companies have transform this understanding in quite a different direction. So again, okay, back to practice. So what is practice? Practice is the product of collective learning and shared of histories of learning in a social context. And practice is the focus of communities of practice. So there has to be a practice. So therefore it's again, as mentioned, it's a product of collective learning. Oops. Okay. Okay, I'll not do anything na lang. So it's a product of collective learning. So what you do, what people does, so that's it. So it could be stories, it could be rules, regulations, the manuals, the department exams that you do. So these are practice. So it requires practice requires regular thinking together about real life problems or hot topics to mutually draw on one another's performances in practice as cues for action. So the practice requires constant interaction, and it should not be just any type of interaction. It should be about thinking together, which and by thinking together, this leads to tacit knowledge that is shared indirectly and redeveloped rather than transferred directly in its original form from one person to another. So the proponents of communities of practice are are not favorable actually of knowledge transfer na term. We always have, we do knowledge transfer. We even have a building in IIT, di ba? Knowledge KTTO. So, so knowledge transfer, they quite don't agree with it, because if you're doing transfer of knowledge, then you are separating knowledge from the practice. And in according to the proponents such as Polanyi, Pierco, and the rest, think that knowledge should be should be go together with practice. And again, it should be not transferred, but it should be recreated from one person to another. So that tacit knowledge. So through thinking together, so for example, for us, to thinking together, practitioners negotiate three structural elements of COPs. And these three structural characteristics makes one community different from or are unique from the other. So this includes mutual engagement. So members create an enabling environment for each to be engaged about. So activities that they do together in order to get things done. So so for example, we do like this one, like the Buka Talk, for example. This is one of the activities. And then another is the joint enterprise, the attempt of members to create a context or common goals in response to their current situation. So these are unique set of problems or hot topics that they care about. So it should not be just anything that would come to our mind. So there has to be like a joint agreement and a shared goal among the members on what they really want as a team, as a department, as a community. And then from there as well, there is a shared repertoire, or the joint resources for creating meaning. So the concepts and artifacts which they adopt and co-produce. And in communities of practice, when we share something or this shared repertoire, it should not be just I'll show that later na din. Okay, the next slide. Okay. Should be oops. Okay, for a while. Okay. Okay, here. So in the shared, we mentioned about shared repertoire. So in the shared repertoire, practice is the product of collective learning and shared histories of learning, as mentioned. So there is that duality of practice in the shared, as mentioned, shared repertoire or the product or the products. And it has to be co-created by everyone. It should not be just like one person do it for everybody. So, and there is this duality of practice. So there is participation and reification. So participation means the members doing the action. So membership and active involvement in the domain. And reification means congealing of aspects of human experience into fixed form. So for example, like a group of friends go to the canteen every lunchtime, and then they started to discuss about their problems, and so they set up a lot of they have stories, they have created languages and things like that. So these are shared histories or shared or stories that they create that they have that has been collected through their own experience. So there is this participation and reification. So you can, if you're a group of, if you were if you are like a member of that community, or if you're one of this group of friends, then you would, you have known the story as well. And if there's something that came out, then you can recall. So therefore, there is participation and reification. So for example, a constitution of the Philippines or any country, there has to be that too. So it should not be just a constitution. Everybody has to follow, everybody has to participate. So that's the concept. So if we do create rules, for example, in the department, we create procedures, we create research, then there has to be participation. It has to be used by the community as well. And so this practice or these products of collective learning can be in a form of explicit knowledge and then tacit knowledge. So explicit knowledge is or examples, the language, tools, documents, regulations, and tacit knowledge includes subtle cues, well-tuned sensitivities, shared worldviews, untold rules of thumb. So these are examples of practice. So learning in COP, therefore, is quite different from what we typically know as in a form of cognitive learning. So it's different. So here, every aspect of the practice is a form of learning. So the community is being a member in a community is a form of learning. So it's a learning as belonging. And when you are in a community as well, you develop your own identity. So therefore, it's a learning as becoming. And when you are together in a community, you begin to change practice. You begin to learn again the practice or becoming a practitioner. So therefore, you are learning as doing, and you also created an experience or an evolution of what practice is or the meaning itself. So therefore, learning as experience. So it's quite different. And it's the implication, therefore, to working, learning, and innovating. So these three, for example, in the College of Education, or in our respective departments, has to go together. So so when you work, when we are working, we are learning, and we are innovating at the same time as a community of practice. So there's a we consider the conditions aside from the goals. So for example, we should not be just so much focused on like, for example, we have goals in the department or we have IPCR, but we have to consider the conditions for reaching such goals. So it's not about it's not about looking at the map, but also considering the conditions of the road. And then the second thing is as in the learning aspect, it's more about becoming a practitioner aside from learning about the practice, learning about like what teaching means. So it should be about being a practitioner. And because we are a community of it's because if we consider ourselves as a COP, then we have to be capable of innovating, and it's inevitable in a COP. So we have to be capable of reconceiving not only the environment, but also our own identity. So for example, now with the advancement of technologies, then recent technologies, education 4.0, industry 4.0, then we have to reconceive as well our identity. So unsa gyud ato ang gusto as a college, as a department sa ingon ana, or whatever community we might conceive of in the future. So in my dissertation, this is from the results from my dissertation. So the factors in community of practice formation and maintenance. So this is also quite consistent with other with the literature. So factors include leadership. So in leadership, for example, in the principal, okay, so the principal or the department head, so they are very important in communities of practice because they set the goals, they monitor the progress of the members, and they are organized. So and members prefer them to be organized and not limit the potential of the members. So because there's this there are cases wherein their leaders would just go with the flow. So therefore, the members would just follow. Okay, kaya naman ang leader, so musunod raw niya. So inana ang that's one factor in the formation and maintenance. And then the shared goal. Shared goal is very important so that the members would know which direction they are to go through. And basically, for us in the education sector, in the academy, it's more about improvement of student learning and the goal of the university, for example. So one example, one case I'd like to mention is like in one case wherein the students national achievement test is very low. So their goal really is to increase the national achievement test score. So they quite focused into it that the rest of the they prioritize this, that the rest of like minor na mga goals, minor na objectives, they don't quite focus on that because they just wanted to increase the national achievement test score. So therefore, they achieved it in the following year, which is quite good because the members, the teachers understood of this goal, the value of this goal. So therefore, value and the shared goal is very important in a community of practice. Then the next is the sense of membership. So it's about having open communication and having a good working relationship, which the literature would tell us is a trusting relationship, morning sense of membership, and then the opportunities for interaction, which is very important because without interaction, then we cannot think together, and communities of practice are based on thinking together. So we have to make sure that the schedules, the workload are good enough for us to interact, okay, regularly. And then the maintenance activities includes active participation in COP activities. And this active participation is dependent as well on the opportunities for the interaction. Then the programming of schedules by department heads, and the forming of committees for complex tasks. So if it's very complex, then we need to have like mga subgroups and proposing of activities, because these are important, which I will discuss later on. And so the least prioritized activity, which I think is also applicable here in the college, is the utilization of data for reviewing and planning instruction as a group. So despite that, for example, in the DepEd, they have this memorandum that they should use data for instruction, but then they did not. So data is very important in a number of literature. Utilization of data is included in the formation and maintenance of communities of practice. And other notable results that I had is that the lack of fellowship made attendance and participation to meetings a form of compliance than a willful act born out of mutual respect among members to the leaders of the community of practice. So we need to have fellowship, Mama May. Okay, and then the contributions to teacher development. First is again this also comes from my research. So the and this is based on Bell and Gilbert theory. First is about social development. Teachers became more comfortable working together and develop respect and sensitivity towards one another. So if we meet together, if we work together, then we became comfortable, and we tend to understand each other, and sensitivity and this form of like sensitivity and friendliness and collegiality it is a tacit knowledge. And then personal development. COP enabled the teachers to gain control and confidence in teaching, became more flexible and motivated to work despite the stress. So they still know how to manage their stress. And then professional development, the teachers became innovative because if you work together, you see your peers are improving and having a better position, better job. So they you tend to also like parang musunod, di ba? You tend to follow if you are in a community of practice. So and they also become reflective of their practice. Now that they teachers would think would then reflect on how to improve themselves from seeing their peers. So this also quite applies to the collective teacher efficacy of Bandura, and also increased teaching standards, because again there are models, you have role models, so then you become also motivated to work and to improve your own practice. And this one, it comes from the book by Wenger, Snyder, and McDermott. I did not present my how to cultivate COP from the result of my work, as this it would not I think it would not apply to in tertiary education. So first is on designing for evolution. Refers to building upon pre-existing networks and shepherding them. So here I'll just show one example. So for example in College of Education, we understand that people will go, and people will come and go. We don't live forever, so we have to design for evolution. So because there will become new dean, new department heads, so things like that. So we have to think of the future and how can our networks be built upon that. And then second is opening dialogue between inside and outside perspectives to see opportunities and possibilities. So we need, as I think we have done this already, to also partner with from the outside and from insider and the outsider as well, to see opportunities and possibilities. Even in the DepEd, they had this. They created school. There are schools who created conferences in their own school and invite the community. And then third is inviting different levels of participation and not expecting everyone to participate at the same level, because in communities of practice, it's voluntary. So we cannot expect everyone to agree with us. So and also it also means that there are tasks that only few people are necessary. So it doesn't mean that if you hold a webinar, then you have to include everyone in the College of Education, diba? So things like that. So different levels of participation, and also and then properly like for example or schedule the people who will be included or participate or the members who will organize these events, for example. So example, Kanisha, this will be the group. Only these 5 people or 5 faculty join, then the next kanina pud sila or things like that. And then another is developing both public and private space, because this will foster individual relationship or informal networks as well as public activities or events, as these two events support in the development of the other. So for example, we hold we create a research conference. So in doing this conference, we are able to improve oneself, but that to improve kaning our relationship as a community, but we are also sharing our knowledge to others as well. So and by doing this, this one of these example is a case in Cebu, is one school in Cebu. So they tend to have like a they call more it's more of like a sort of science fair where they invite the community members, and from there they learn to improve themselves as teachers, as a group of faculty in their department, as a group of like a school or as a school organization, because they tend to have this annually. So ingon ana. And then another is focus on value. So members recognizing the significance of their action. So people members in the community has to understand why they're doing such things, and there has to be a focus on addressing so at the start it may just be about needs and problems of the community, and then later on about expanding communities and sustaining gains. So, so it has to start at first with the value and the goal has to be understood by everyone. And then another is combining familiarity and excitement. So this is also related to the previous mentioned na in the inside and outside combined. So this is needed for a well-connected community. Or di po boring. And then the seventh one, which is very important, is about creating a rhythm for the community. This refers to finding the right pacing and the book of activities for the community to thrive and remain vibrant. Because interactions in the community is needed for mutual engagement, and mutual engagement um, is uh, is needed for thinking together to develop practice. So if people are busy and having a heavy workload, then they could not work well. They could not think well, and innovation will be affected. So creating a rhythm na sakto lang for the community is necessary to cultivate communities of practice. And it has to be it should be noted as well that most communities of practice is not about setting up, it's about cultivation. And because in a community of practice, there is that a tendency to self-organize, or this group of people tend to self-organize, and these communities of practice we have to use them to leverage to use it to our advantage in the College of Education. So we have to, for example, support these communities that we may be coming up in the future, or cultivate those that are existing. So that's all for my presentation, and thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Rhea Pedro. And it's a very wonderful presentation, and I learned a lot. And for me, in the college in the DSME, we are trying to like cultivate this kind of community of learning. And I see a lot of semblance in what we were doing, and also I see a lot of opportunities where we can improve as colleagues in the department. So I'd like to invite our colleagues and friends, if you have questions and comments regarding Dr. Rhea's presentation. I think Dr. Rhea is also excited to answer them. Anyone? All right. So
Yeah.
I think they are in awe of the presentation. The starstruck.
Hi, Rhea. I have a
Ayan, Ma'am
question.
Hi,
Ami,
Mama.
good one.
I have a question.
Yeah,
So
sure.
right now I'm an administrator. So based on the research that you have, in what way could we support or promote? And you also know the situation of college of education. I guess community of practice is although the administrator have a big role on it, but its individual role actually is very important. So since you are a College of Education faculty and you also done research on it, what is your recommendation on how do we promote a productive community of practice for College of Education?
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Ami. Thank you. How do we promote community of practice in the College of Education? I think
Productive.
productive. Okay, the term is productive. Okay, productive. So we already. I think I've seen a lot. That's why I did this research. I did this dissertation because I'm inspired actually with what we have been doing in the college and the we already I think already have this existing communities of practice, like for example in the educational and the edtech before, wherein we plan each semester on how to teach and what will be our resources and to work on the department exams and things like that. So I think we already have, and I think what is lacking probably to become more productive is actually is that sort of thinking together. So we have to have this opportunity to meet together as a community. So for example, like each department, they have to talk or to meet each other as frequently as possible, and also not as frequent pero regular lang, regularly, and from then on they will it would become more productive. I'll give one example. Pero sa kumbana na ba ni? For example in Mark's research group, they meet like every week and they each present their research. So things like that. So from there, you can think of this is the better things to do. We should do it like that. So there can be there will be planning uh, and you can see or people can see opportunities from this interaction. So it's basically about interactions. I think, Ma'am Ami, to be more productive is to add more interaction. People to meet together, and from there, from meeting together, they can think of some better things to do.
Okay, thank you very much, Ray.
All right. Thank you, Ma'am Ami, for raising that very relevant question. And we also have one last question from our chat box from Ma'am Vanessa Zabala. How do we promote COP in the department? I think this is very much related to the previous question. Only this time very specific to the department. Any comment, Ma'am Ray?
Uh, okay, Ma'am Vanessa, how do we promote COP in the department? I think in our department, I think it's the same. It's more about interaction and setting up our goals, setting up to what direction we really want to go. So that's very important and very essential in a community of practice. And the rest is voluntary. So like participation, it's voluntary because we are not paid to have this. Although we to have this particular groupings, but then we because these are informal setup ng kaning communities of practice, but then we can have this to make our work better. So ingon ana. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Let's everybody, let's give a hand, no, a virtual applause to Dr. Rhea Confessor for sharing to us a very relevant and a very timely, no, very timely talk on thinking as a community, no, and yeah, I think some of the presentations and sharings of our select faculty from different departments and from the IDS, we would be hearing also their experiences of how they as a department support one another and sharing their best practice as well. So at this point in time, allow me to call in our two moderators for the different breakout rooms, Ma'am Roxanne and Sir Jay. So we will be opening the breakout rooms. And for the first breakout room, we have representatives from the DPPE, DPRE, DSME, DPE, and the IDS. So each of the presenters will be introduced by the respective moderators in the breakout rooms, as well as for the breakout two. So I'd like to request our tech team to please open now our breakout room so that we can hear the sharing of our select faculty. Grace, if you please. All right. So my dear colleagues, we have two breakout rooms, breakout one and breakout two. We can select, no, we can select where we can join. So please check the breakout room setting or icon on your computer, on your screens, and try to select which breakout rooms would you like to join, for these morning sessions. So if there are any problems, please please don't hesitate to contact us. And if you want to be assigned manually to a breakout room, then just do a chat and we will assign you if you cannot join manually.
Create na lang ko og video for them, no, to for them to easily understand the lecture, and at the same time they can just view the video anytime they want if naaman gani sila difficulty with the internet connection during the lecture. And aside from this, no, ang ako pong murag isa ka difficulties or challenges in this influx modality is of course the internet connectivity, the technical skills and internet connectivity. Kaya there are times manggod na dili kayo kusugang ako or my internet is not that stable. So there are times na murag during lecture kay murag mawala na kog kalit na sikog storya, and then not knowing di ay wala na di ay ko sa ko ang klase. No, naman ka mga common experience good during the lecture. And then there are also times pod na my difficulty pod is kaya bitang focus and retention with my learners. Kaya I don't know if they're really listening to my discussion or naabagid sila in the camera. Kay some of the cameras magud kay turn off. And then in the first day of the class, I requested the okay, ma'am. So in the first day sa klase, nag-ask ko sa ilahi if they could turn on their cameras during the lecture lang, no, kay at least for me to see if naabagid sila. Kay basira bitaw ni log in lang sila, ni enter lang sa classroom, and then wala na day ko kay istorya. But then I realized in the middle of the class na makakuan man day siya og data, na murag dako kay ang data na iyahang makaon if
reading. Define ako sa reading. So I kuan naghimo ko assignment submission din. I create a submission din for their activity on first day of class. So mo na akong gibuhat. Then I
dire sa RTL. So each module naapod sila product and output. So the first output first is individual mo na ay reflection. Although naa sila weekly activities, kani akong gikuan lang sa RTL, ang major task lang nila ha. So they have their individual, so they have, although gas-gas na kay ning reflection, pero this is also one way for me to know my students. So after that, sa mo na ang first output nila individual, then the second output here is collaboration na no, collaborative. So here infographic, so naagya pa product na kay makitaan. So sa third output nako is documentation analysis, then the fourth major task is the case study. I think ako lang ma-share lang diri siguro feeling nako na best practice siguro nako kay each task, each output is related to the next output. Para they will not start from the scratch na sa end nila mag-start pag so mura ko sa research pa sa chapter 1 nabuhat na nila sa module 1 sa chapter 2 module 2 something like that no. So related ang ako ang output ako ang module in sa taga next output. So, mo ni akong RTL. Then I am now going to share my mole. Mole classroom. Mo na nino na pressure ko kay Ma'am Casey. Very nice kay mong mole, Ma'am. In fact, just a very brief lang kay na background, no. Way back 2 years ago, I think sila Sir Loy, sila Ma'am Roxy naghatag og training about this. With all honesty, sa tinuod lang, I told myself I will never ever use mole because it's a waste of time para sa kuha. And then since I'm not a techie person pa jud, and I feel na parang mukuan pa kog effort, then for me nothing beats good ang kuan ang face to face ganong mo gamit akong mole, and I don't like blended learning. Lahi ra gyud ang face to face mo gid na ako ang prinsipyo 2 years ago. So when pandemic came, I don't have a choice but to like mole. But when we had our training last year sa MyCell, still di kay ko ganan maminaw. Negative gyapon ko about mole kay dili lagi ko ganahan og mole. Kay kapuyan ko lisod, din dili ko teki. So kana gid ako ang concept sa moles. Yes, until now gani struggle mo na anak ko kay Sir Lowell nganong ako man mag-share daghan kay best kay sa amo ang ka department jud sure jud kong mga mole. So anak man si Sir na sige lang aron makit-an pud sa mga beginner mga sa mole makit-an pud nila. So sige, at least it gave me confidence. Okay, as a beginner lang gid ni ako as Sir kay simple ra jud kay akong mole. Ako actually what I'm going to share is my first mole classroom. Kay mo gid niya ako murag something memorable para sa ko ano. So for the beginners, halaka di na pud siya ma-share. Sige, adjud lang kay Ma'am Rox. Pariyami ni Ma'am Casey no, internet pud ako ang isa sa challenges. Challenges no. Wait lang ha. Kasi mahuman akong 10 minutes sa ka-loading.
Tama kay 1 minute and 30
O lagi, hapit na ma'am. Dagan wag ko gi-check ka na mo na ni. Ituyo na ako. Joke. Ajud lang ma'am. Nag-load jud siya ma'am. Sorry. And kapi lang ma'am ako nalagi kuan. Digid ma'am. Rocks. Uy, anak ka. Anyway, sa mole nako, sorry, dili gyud siya as in ako yung ginatry. Sa mole classroom nako, simple ra kay ko at first. For the beginners, nag-upload lang ko resources. Then nara, okay. Nara. Na-share na ma'am?
yes
Hopefully
ma'am.
na-share. Sige,
Yes.
faster lang gid ko. So simple na jud kay akong mole class. Karon jud kay ko na class, sorry. Colleagues. No? Simple lang. I have the resources, then the assignment. Then, ang strategy lang ako for implementation ako na sa Kumole, strategy lang nako is actually ang akong style, which feeling nako kay dili pod agreeable ang students ani, is I do not meet them weekly. Instead, they have an assignment weekly. But they are going to receive feedbacks weekly. No mo na ako ang style sa ako ang instruction. Then ang isa ka challenge nako, di ba, basta essay, reflection, hay nako, usually their answers came from Google. As much as possible, I ask yun ka ng questions bitaw something personal or something ka applicable to the real life situation to avoid na lang copy and paste. So, ako ang yung style kay dili ko mag-meet nila sa ilang according gid sa time, but they are going to receive feedback weekly. But we still have synchronous gyapon. Ang akong synchronous after they have read already the activities that they have shared already. I mean, they have answered naaday may sharing time. So sa sharing time, I will not already discuss from the scratch ang concepts and principles. More na din may sa, okay, from the theory sa Piaget, what can you say about this? Ma'am, how about sa Vygotsky? Dili, mag-expect na yung kung more interaction nga naman, kay nakabasa naman sila, o naka-receive na sila o feedback. So dili na itong nang mag-discuss na po ni na the theory of Piaget, ana-ana, dili na. So every module na ami siya sharing time. Dili gid siya ingon na mag-discuss ta ani na topic kani Wednesday ha, then sa Friday kanina po na topic dili siya. So mo na ang akong style, sharing time lang siya. Then what is so mo to ako ang kwan then ilaha pong major task. Okay, mo po ako challenges na mga magreklamo ma'am na mga free riders. Okay, that's up na. So, more actually, meron po akong highlights akong sharing. Thank you, Ma'am Roxy.
Sorry, ako nang na-stop. Kay Kuhan. Ano na
Yes,
lang,
yes, ma'am. Okay ra kayo.
kung na-carries on niya, if ever, pwede na po ni may patayon para atong makuan. Thank you for that, Ma'am Giselle. At least nag-try to adapt to the new normal sa tuang kuan instruction. So, dili lang ma-stress, maanad at kadugayan sa sa mole. Okay, so our next sharer is Ma'am Odessa D. Averilia from Koan DSME.
Okay, good morning everyone. Maklaro ra akong kuan audio.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So kani ako kay ano lang ni siya kanang quick lang ni siya la sharing and um uh first of all I would like to thank the Buka group for giving us the opportunity to share our kanang mga practices. I can't really say that this is my best practice, one of my best practices, but I'm trying to I'm trying to make it kuan dili siya best pero something na kuan so focus ko sa quizzes, so optimizing mole quizzes for online assessments. So si Sir Jonel ang gipa-present kay unstable ang amo internet connection dito sa office. So I just have here a screenshot of my course syllabus. So here the learning outcomes have been presented, and then also the course title, course guide, and all the information about the anatomy and physiology for teachers. So next slide, please. So this is just a sample of module 1, mga learning tasks, and other assessment tasks, and all the activities that were being done in the module. So one of the task is online quiz. So every module na adjust quiz because it it is one way of assessing the learnings of my students in terms of their performances. So next slide. Okay, so a screenshot of my Molly classroom. So later, after this presentation, I am going to show you a quick kanang view of my Molly classroom. Next slide, please. Okay, so why quizzes are important? So I believe we all know that quizzes are really important, but some of us, we have our own strategy on how we are going to assess the performance of our students. But for me, this time, in this times of new normal, I am also really giving regular quizzes for my students. And at first, naglisod gud ko on how.
Okay, once again, good morning. I am thankful for this opportunity to share the challenges that I encountered and during the implementation of the inflex learning modality. And I also would like to share just some of my best practices in the implementation of this inflex modality. Okay, I'm going to show you just a screenshot of my Mole classroom. This is just one of the subjects that I handled last semester, which is SED 126, entitled Classical Mechanics for Teachers. So if you notice, ang banner is actually, I just followed the banner, which was prescribed by the Inflex team of the Department of Science and Mathematics Education. But actually, not all of my subjects have this this banner. Some of my subjects, I have my own design depending on the nature of the subjects. So you can see as well on the left part of this presentation, the contents, the possible contents of this subject is ED 126. So you have those chapters, then the exam and another set of chapters. Just like what you have seen from the previous presenters, there are also attached files, introduction of those chapters, then tasks given, directions were also provided in those chapters, and the activities in those chapters and other learning activities for the subject. Of course, the said subject follows the designed syllabus. So for example, in SED 126, which is actually intended for BS Ed Physics students, which is actually the main goal of this subject is to introduce important principles in one of the fields in physics, which is actually classical mechanics. Most importantly, the methods in solving those problems with, of course, real life applications. And the emphasis is on the use of the methods rather than the proofs or derivations, because in some subjects, in some fields of physics, the focus there is actually more on the derivations of the formulas. But this subject is intentionally focused on how to apply the method or how to apply the formula using a practical example, real life application, then apply the formula, then interpret the results and the scenario and everything. So you can see there, these are the 4 major goals of the subject. Present solutions to the problems on topics, descriptors of motion, for example, then solve problems, formulate solutions. Finally, the main goal of the subject is that the students had to create a portfolio of those problems in classical mechanics with real life applications. So actually, going back to the Moli classroom, the syllabus was, I attached the syllabus there, of course. And I reminded the students that from time to time, they have to review the syllabus for them to have idea on the possible topics that will be discussed next week. And of course, I indicated the date of the pag-attach sa file, because some of the students would say nga, sir, wala man na-upload. So naagi ebidensya nga, unsa gyud nga date, unsa nga time gi-upload para di gyud sila magpataka og kuan, no? Magpataka og yaw-yaw. So nagyud na yung mga evidence. Okay. Aside from that, the Moli classroom is also anchored on the program outcomes of the subject, the institutional, the teacher education outcomes, and most especially the science education outcomes. So later on, when I talk about the best practices, So I'll be showing you some of those screenshots on just mga ano lang, mga ways that I had in order for me to really follow the outcomes, content of the subjects. So of course, the challenge
So, dali ra kayo ang pag-compute sa grades. Next question. How many items in minutes for 1 hour, ma'am? Kuan siya, ma'am, Faye. Depende gid sa imong exam kung lisod, difficult ang imong mga questions kay tagaan gid mo sila taas-taas nga time labi na kung naay ka ng problem solving. Sa multiple choice, problem solving siya pero naghatag og choices for kuan mo gud sila mag-solve pa. So depende gid sa type sa exam ang number of minutes. Nag-experiment ko na one time ang 20 items gitagaan na ko sila og 10 minutes so nahulog nga 30 seconds per kuan kay ako mismo mag-practice kog answer pero ang naka-difference magud kay kabalo ko sa answer so pag kuan ako ma-meet ko na ko ang time di kaabot og 10 minutes kay kabalo ko sa answer bisa pag ano pa question mabaya siya ba ako'y mag-practice so one time nag-try po ko nga wala kunuhay ko kabalo sa answer malapas mo siya 10 minutes so ako siya i-balance so mao po na ang challenge pag-create og kanang quiz online kay we have to consider also the situations of the students. It's good for those who have fast internet connection kay kung katupong kuan naman gi estudyante nga hinay sila magbasa, hinay nila masabtan ang question. Napoy estudyante dali kay nila mag-grasp ang question. So, yung Sir Jonel, yung practice kay mag-take times 4 and time for students. Syempre sir, kay sa math, maka-nosebleed. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ato Ma'am Faye. Thank you, Sir Jonel. Ma'am, last gamay na lang. So, time na. More mo may pagsugod na ako, Sir Roxy.
Time na. Muna siya, kuhan, ma'am. Time ka sharing.
So these are the challenges, technical issues, distractions, and time management adapting to unfamiliar technology. Next slide, please. So here are my reflections. I'm using the framework Dr. Buan has presented during her NFLEX orientation. So for relevant and engaging approaches, so in this approach, we have to encourage engagement, developing online.
These are just major concerns that I encountered when I implemented the Inflex learning modality. However, I tried my best to adjust myself, of course, in this new learning mode, anchored sa kining gitawag na to nga Inflex framework, wherein the activities, the things that we're going to undertake here, if possible, are relevant, engaging, achievable, clear, and holistic. So, yun sa man to nako siya. So, I try my best nga mga outcomes and content of the subjects, not only the SAD 126, but
yun na yung mga activity nga after doing the activity, i-hide na yun ako siya para dili sa mo po dito sa ilahang mole. So, kana. So, this is my mole classroom. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, salamat. So, ang focus ato more or less sa kung ano sa assessment, how Ma'am Odessa gives the assessment. So, module to ang struggle, ang kuan mag-copy. Tayo, naapo na sa setting kung unsaon, kung i-show ni mo automatic ang correct answer, more or less makakopya ang uban kung naay take 2 or take 3 nga kuan. Or magakinopyahay or mag-video call while nag-take sa exam.
Yes, tinuod gid na, ma'am.
Mag-Discord, ma'am. Mag-Discord. Mag-Discord while mag-quiz.
Okay. So next na to siguro i-practice unsaon pagkuan ka ng yang authentic ba nga murag naabitaw kay view kanang kuan sa imong phrasing sa imong kuan nga dili maka-open og lain nga kuan window. Okay, so next natong share si si Sir Leo Santillana sa PE. So kanila in pwede nga challenge. Sir Leo. Thank you, ma'am. Odessa.
Hello, good morning. Magdunggan ko, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
So ako man ipag-share, uy.
Naay kuan button dira sir
Kalit
na
lang.
share.
Lagi, pero kana bang...
Ay, ang good. Share lang good.
Google Chrome. Butla, tanaw na ako ni Be.
Okay.
Maapil, makana.
Okay.
Okay, ani di ay. Kuyaman ko. So, good morning, everyone. So, thank you so much, for the opportunity to share my my practice especially in PED 002. Like what others have said na perhaps dili jud siya best for the whole department, but I can say na this is by far the best sa tanan akong experience since first semester. So parang mas improve di siya na strategy. So yes, this is my kanang mole classroom. So simple lang pod, no? Unlike sa others na dagan kay mga layout and all. So first the course description, and then I have announcements here. So sa batch 1, batch 2. So naana diri dayon ang Facebook group because I also utilize Facebook group for like announcements, because not all can mas maka-access sila pa og Facebook rather than mole. So at least from there maka ano po aside from SMS blast, and then napod ni siya ang kining Facebook group maka-announce ko. So naana diri join na lang sila. So everything has been prepared for them kung asa sila dapat mo access. And of course, the contact details whenever they are not online, at least anytime they can reach me through SMS, okay, pwede sa email and sa FB account. So, nako instruction how they are going to kanang send a message, especially they are going to kanang raise any concern. So, introduce sila sa because sometimes they will ask directly, no, good morning sir, unsa ka ito'y kuan sa kuan, then maglibog ta what is the kuan ba kanang subject pa iyang kuan and what section. So anyway, so now we'll proceed to the preliminary activities. So as PE practitioner, so we need to have of course first the remote learning survey to know their kanang capacity as to their access to technology. And then this is actually a Google form. Pag-click nila, automatic magkawas na din sila sa Google form. And then also the physical activity readiness questionnaire. So this is very important for us so that we will know na there are, because not all students can perform physical activity because they have history of mga injury, previous injury, that if they are going to perform physical activity may be affected or maano sila ma-disgust sila or maka-put sila into risk. So naman students are very mas mahadlok bitaw sila not to deliver because of the grades, of the consequences. So to the extent that they are going to risk their health na lang po. So always gini at the very beginning before you to start of the class, and also in the tawag orientation, na adjud ning physical activity readiness questionnaire, and then will based on the result I will give feedback, then follow up question, and then if kinahanglan bigid dili or okay ra siya mag-perform, and then from there you can modify na dayon the activity that he or she is going to perform in the class. Okay, performance based man ta. So of course, sa introduction, and then sa BMGO, etc. And then sa module 1 is the concept of physical education. I find it very important to still include this because this is the basic or the foundation of everything, because for TED 002, it's more of it's dance slash martial arts, but it's up for the teacher if based on his or her expertise, whether he or she will opt for dance or martial arts. Now, in my case, I opted for dance. So, of course, in PE 1 and 3, 2, 3, and 4, there are a lot of activities, but the concept of physical education is still there. Na siya. It's just that the activities are varied lang. Depende sa course na dayon, ma-vary. So, I am very this is very important for me, especially when they are going to create their kuan na kanang presentation or final output na, because there are students who believe na the final output can be done na kana bitong one day ano lang, one big shot lang na pag-perform, because I would like to let them know that it's not. That's supposed to be a lot of kanang effort na ay repetition. So that is why it needs to be established good and to be inculcated in them. And then so na sharing of ideas, and then here there are mga ano na dayon, readings, and also supplemental resource or video that they may watch to supplement their knowledge for that particular topic. And then for module 2, fundamental positions of the arms and feet in dance, especially in folk dance. So I have here the ano na dayon. This is previously in the sa previous na SEM, I'm having a hard time doing this because I was not prepared for a video recorded na instructional material. Although there are other video instructional resources that is found in YouTube, but there is a need for me to to expound more. So I preferred it previously to be kanang to deliver in a synchronous setup, but this time because of because of our setting karon, then lisod po ng mga estudyante to access technology. So that is why I made it sure this time this is the pinaka ganahan ako na I made a lot of video instructional resources na ako gyud ang nag-perform. So sa preliminary drills for arms, this is when, because most of the time, especially the boys, they are afraid to take dance classes because they are not used to it. They are not interested in dancing, especially folk dance. So they are more into sports. So they're afraid kasi mabagsak me or etc. etc. So through these preliminary drills for arms, this is when they are going to identify the difference between the stiff stiff looking arm when they are going to perform arm position, and the soft one. So parang they are going to feel it by doing the drills. So I have here video, no? So I hope it's kanang shown in there, not makita sa screen. Ako wala no, dili. Di ko kabalon sa ano siya. But anyway, so yes, preliminary drills for arms. So after every activity, so kining fundamental position of the arms and feet in dance pala, the divide siya og 1, 2, dayon 3, 4, and 5 activities to be able to complete everything. Okay, this is a step-by-step process man. So katong first is the preliminary drills for the arms, because this is one of the most important features in learning the fundamental position of this the arms. Okay, this is the one of the most na being seen, pinakauna makita dayon when the the dancers will perform. So dito makita ang aesthetics niya because of the lines sa arm. So need na ma-establish siya. So after that, I also include preliminary drills for the feet, for the footwork, and this is really very important, fundamentals. And then after that, if they are they know already how to transfer their weight from here, from pointing, transferring of weight, because these are mga skills that is needed in performing the next step, the fundamental position of the arms and feet in dance na. So I made it sure na I introduce first the arms, all the positions, 5 positions, so that dili sila malibog. And then after that, pag ma-master na, naadayon, ang next na dayon is ang feet. Then ma-master na nila. So there is an instruction nga they are going to do it a lot of times when they practice. And then at least in a week, 2 to 3 times a week, they will spend at least 10 to 15 minutes lang. So that even if we are not having PE class, they still have that time to move, no? Even if we're not having PE class. Tapos, well, of course, every activity that I will let them do, naadayoy evaluation, meaning they are going, naay questions ani, no? About what they felt, no, na mga question, muraog ka ng reflection to gihapon. How did you find the activity? What is or are the important reminders in performing the drill? What do you think there is a need for you to go through these drills? So limit discussions to 300. So at least I know through their responses na they have really performed the drill because they can say something about their experience. So every activity na anas siya. And then lastly, katunada yung fundamental position of the arms and feet in dance combo. Combination na, dungan na ang arms and feet na. So naapoy instructional video for that, and every part or every position na ay mga instruction and mga details, mga important details. And then, of course, with music. So 4 rounds, they are going to replay everything. So na instruction on how they are going to do it, and then after that, na po dayoy evaluation gihapon. So after they have gone through all the steps, they are going to ano na dayon, create or record na dayon the performance task, which is the fundamental position of the arms and feet in dance na combo, individual. They're going to record it and submit it through upload it sa Google Drive, and then they are just going to post sa submission bin the link, because it's hard for them to upload their video outputs sa submission bin because of the large capacity. So after that, if after they are already done with the fundamental position of the arms and feet in dance, they are now ready to learn ano na dayon, dance routine na dayon. So for this, Susan Cariñosa, so I have here posted the dance literature because I need to emphasize in them that, especially folk dance, we need to really anchor the performance from the dance literature. So the ones that they see on YouTube might not be the kuan bitaw na anay mga error, and it's a no-no for us na you are going to perform folk dance na ay uban mugna na ay mga innovations na in the kuan para mas magmukha siyang mas maayo, but honestly it should be coming from the literature kung sa lagi ingon dito. So na ay page 1, page 2, page 3, and then I also have instructional video for this. Tapos okay, so ano siya, so muna din nila output sa Cariño stuff. So they are performing everything. So I hope you can see it sa ano. Tapos for the output, I have this by pair to have collaboration. But the only problem that I have here, because not all would like to for having a partner because they're having a time kana bitang collaborating, especially the use of technology, maglisod sila ana. But yeah, that is what I'm going to ano pa to think of ways on how na they will still be able to have collaborative activity na mugo gyud sila even if ano how difficult it is could happen. So only siya. And then I have also yes here I also have the sample. So as you can see, this kanang kanang student is more on sporty side, but because of the drills that usually boys jud when they perform the fundamental position of the arms, stiff jud kay gahi jud ko isang kanan. And because
for the few short quizzes, right? So in other words, during your authentic assessment, you have to assess them as well. And you have to believe in the mantra that the process, the climb is more important or just as important as the end result. So I do have a lot of formative assessments when I was teaching, but I don't know. I think I still need improvement in that aspect as well. I do have only 30 seconds remaining. So inclusive learning design is one of the other presentations that I enjoyed. And inclusive, anyway, 10 seconds na lang ko. So sir, that's Sir Jeroel, that's the end of my talk. Thank you for listening. Time.
Thank you, sir, for your time and for sticking to your time. And now, and congratulations also for your.
lagi there are some of them who have a problem with accessing technology na yung pag-record sa video. So things like this mga problema po nila on their end. And tapos those who yes, I have not explored a lot of applications to have parang mga activities that are parang interesting or mas lingaw pa. And I hope to add some this coming semester, as I have spoken with Ma'am Roxy a few weeks ago with other applications that may be used to have very and engaging na mga activities or lessons. So that's all for the sharing. Thanks so much for listening.
Wow, thank you. Nilapas din yun ka, sir. Pero nice ka, you were able
Sorry.
giunsa po di mag-ask unta ko how to give feedback katong mga video.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, very nice kay no. Every performance nga submit nila then mag-ano din ka og feedbacking through your pre-recorded videos. And then nice to imo physical readiness surveys na ipa-notes and reminders on the do's and don'ts before positioning katong mga reflexes nila. Dayon.
Yes, ma'am.
Dayon naka-create na jud kag mole. Yay. Ganahan na kay sa inyo nagmole. Thank you, Sir Leo. So our last sharer is Associate Professor Dante Joma Sabala sa IDS. So lain po nilang struggle ani kay kuan man mga senior high school. So, sir.
Hello, good morning. Madunggan ko?
Yes, sir.
Ay, sige. Mayong buntag sa tanan. Una sa tanan, magpasalamat po ko for giving me the opportunity to share. So, mag-agree ko sa ilaha nga kanang dili ko makaingon nga mo ni pinaka-best sa mo ang department pod. Pero I think siguro I did my best. Ana lang siguro. So, mo ni ang amo ang classroom sa Google Me kay katong sugod sa Inflex kay murag we find it more user-friendly ang Google Classroom.
You showed you were using video, no? And because you said you have to show performances. Okay, thank you, Sir Ace. We have one last, I think. You have one last more. We already have.
Wala na, friend.
Wala na. Okay. So thank you very much, team, for doing a good job and also for sharing, especially to our present.
Dahil akong i-share kay grading system. So, mo ni siya 10%. Di ni siya ang regular nga face-to-face na distribution. Gituyo na mo nga 30-30-30 kay kanang di man nato matag na kung ana bitaw kay kung butangan na.
Okay, sure. Picture taking sa data.
Sige, 3, 2, 1. Yay! Okay. All right. So, if na ay mga questions, we can discuss them.
Okay, sure.
So, kung na ay mga questions, I think we still have time. The other room is still, wala pa sila nag-join sa ilang discussion. Perhaps some of you may have comments, questions sa atong mga presenters, and we can take this time to discuss and share also. Perhaps our audience can also share if they can relate to the practices and all.
Sir, if you allow me, Sir Jonel, because my presentation was very quick and fast kay gidiscuss na magud nila na halos na nakuha na ang scope ni Sir Elizar ang kanabitang mga advantages, disadvantages sa
mo ni siya among kanang main material sa module kibali ang amo ang Math 7 upat ka quarter man na di ba kay high school 4 quarters. So 4 modules, then kada module na ay worksheets, no, gibahin-bahin og worksheets depende sa topics. So yun ana. So ang worksheet were designed nga kana bitang independent siya, meaning na ana diha tanan ma-deliver na sa worksheet ang essentials. So bali dili na siya dependent sa kanang synchronous nga lecture. Mo na magipaningkamutan nga pwede na mi dili mag-synchronous nga lecture. Kung mag-synchronous lecture man gani mi or activity, supplemental na lang siya. Bali naagya po may madungag nga wala sa mga videos. So mo na siya. So let me share again, no. Mo ni siya ang worksheet. So mo ni siya ang pinakauna namo nga gibuhat nga worksheet na sa basic onsets, then inani ang porma na name, section, deadline, na ang date ug oras, dayon instruction, references. So mo ni kompleto na siya. So naam sila textbook. So pwede sila mo tanaw sa textbook asa dito nga pages. Napoy PDF, napoy may gibuhat o napoy may gi-download nga kanang e-document para ilhapong referral. No, napoy may videos. So ana siya. So YouTube University gyud usually. Naiuban na amua, naiuban sa laing nga YouTubers. So mo na siya. So mo ni ang part na ay activity proper. Dayon na apoy katong naay part nga problem solving or essay depende asa diha ang applicable sa kana nga worksheet. Dayon na ang rubric, then apoy reflection. And then naapod ang rubric sa reflection. Then ang instruction sa pag-submit mo man ni pinakauna. So nangapag yun mi, di mi kabalo kung sakto ba na unsa baron. So mo na among murag challenge ba sakto ba ni among ginabuhat? Dayon enough ba ni mga bata man kayo gud ni amo ang students. So kaya ba kanila ni independently, di ba? Asynchronously kaya kanila ni mo na ang big question ba? Nag-adjust pag yun ni sila, murag na nakaagi sila triple jeopardy ba kay nag-adjust sila from elementary to high school, nag-adjust pag yun sila from their school to IDS, nag-adjust pag yun sila from face to face to inflex. No, murag na triple jeopardy ang ilahang somehow ba inana ang ilahang experience. So grabe ilang adjustment considering their age ana bitaw. So dita kabalo sa impact na sa ila. So kami naning kamot mi nga reliable gid siya at the same time appropriate pod sa ilahang pangidaron, sa ilang capacity nga dili sila ma-stress, dili sila ma-burnout, dili sila mabugatan og maayo. Ana ba ang tungod sa ilang grabe nga mga adjustments. So mo to nga nag-decide mi yun sa manamo ni pagsulbad. Actually ako ra ni ako rin nagbuhat ani na nagkuan ko nga nangayo og feedback. So sila may kuan ani recipients, so sila ako manguha og feedback. So nagbuhat ko og kanang Google form dayon naa dito ilang mga feedback pero nakuha lang nako kay first to third kay pagka fourth kanang na busy na man gud pod sila kay ana balain man gud tong facing sa IDS pod ba. So I look into their feedback as basis for improving kani yung worksheet kay mo gining main material. So I will show the kuano form. Batong form. Graduate na adara. So mao ni siya ang form. Sa first quarter, kada worksheet giparate nako then gikapoy ko na burn out ko na stress ko kapuy ang madian 5 ka worksheet nya giparate sila pod na burn out daghay na ang workload ba sa mo to pagka second quarter sa module to nag-decide ko nga isahon na lang og grade nganong tagsahon pa man ako na pwede raman siguro isahon na lang para mugamay pod ilahang workload. So mo na siya na ay kuan sa purpose gi-explain sa may purpose ani nga form then ana ay consent then siya daimoni. So number 1, the provided material were helpful. So naay kanang Likert scale, no? Strongly agree, strongly disagree. The provided or videos or materials helpful ba ana dayon ang instructions activity proper dali ra ba sabton. Dayon number 4, ang submission nga instruction dali ra ba sabton. Ana kay mga bata man gud ni so mahintong dali ra pud sa ilaha ba kanang kanabitawng independent kumahimo independently makaya pud nila gyud pud. Then how would you rate the difficulty of the activity proper? Ana siya dayon how would you rate the difficulty of the word problem og essay lahi man to silang duha. So bali ang word problem og essay mura siya og katunang sa HATS. So kaning activity proper HATS gihapon siya pero more on adhi atong katong mga topics nga i-discuss ba. So inana then how would you rate the number of activities ang kadaghanon sa gipabuhat sa ilaha ana bitaw dayon ang time to finish dayon ang difficulty sa worksheet in overall ako kung gipangutana sila overall bang worksheet then ang worksheet nakatabang bagyud ba sa pagtuon sa topic na putuan nga question dayon ang activities mabuhat pagyud siya independently dayon ang pointing system masabtan ba nila dayon mo na ko'y 3 ka open-ended question. So inana ma'am and sirs akong gibuhat para na ako'y basis for improvement. So pila ra istorya mo ni akong output. So time na ba na conscious ko. So inani example sa question number 3, ang instruction ba sa activity proper is sayon ba sabton. So sa second quarter naay 16% neutral di kay sila ka kuan gyud naay ni agree 53% dayon 28% sa strongly agree nga okay ra instruction. So napa may ni disagree then di pa ko ganahan nga naay neutral. So mo to nangita pa ko pamaagi gi-edit pa nako ang instruction gi-simplify pa gyud based sa ilang feedback naman sila feedback gyud nga kanang qualitative. So pag abot ng third quarter na somehow na nalipay ko kay nag-improve man ang percentage. So the same question daghan ang ni agree ug ang ni strongly agree na ba wala na ni disagree gamay na lang pud ang neutral. So naay improvement. Dayon kani pud nga question ang level of difficulty sa word problem. So kanang choices ila na-adjud no naay kanang fair man ni ang sa ba ni yellow ba ni dayon ang kuan kay difficult. Anyway, word problem man siya so meant to be good siya nga fair or difficult. Pero namo gyud ni reklamo nga very difficult na poy easy or very easy. So mo to gi-adjust nako. So pag abot sa third quarter nawala na tong very easy. Kay di dapat sa very easy kay word problem man ni siya or math essay man siya. So bisag easy na lang siguro na pero nawala na pod ang easy. So ang naa na lang kay fair, difficult and sa to very difficult gamay ra man ang very difficult. Sa kanip nga question, how do you rate the number of activities? So from 87%, di kayo maklaro no, sorry. Nahimo siya 90 ka percent nga fair. Fair na ang number of nga ginapabuhat namo sa ilaha. So meaning maayo gid ay nga mangayo tag feedback sa ilaha kay para dili matabangan nato sila during this time ba kay di ta kabalo unsa gyud ang ilang mga kaagi unsa gyud kabugat ang ilahang kanang gidala nga workload pod from the other subjects Dayon kanipod sa katong open-ended question nangutana ko nga unsa may suggestion ninyo para ma-improve pa ang worksheets. Nangutana jud ko sa ilaha. So sa second quarter na ay 15 ka nagtubag nga lahi-lahi siya og idea na iniingon nga ang instruction i-improve pa, i-simplify pag maayo. Ang word problem pwede pa sayo nun. Naiuban mo disagree ko kay word problem gani. Dahil kinahanglan challenging gyud siya kay para ma-motivate gyud sila nga mag-think kuan gyud kanang hats ba. Sa nag-varied siya, dili siya pare-parehas og idea. So mo to gi-cater na ko to nga mga ko ang gipaningkamutan namo nga mausab na pud pagka third quarter ang katong mga gipang suggest nila. So pag-abot sa third quarter, 5 na lang ang ni-suggest. Dahil sa 5, tuluan na pareha rag idea. Ang idea is extend ang deadline. Dili mi wala mi ni agree ana kay actually dili na sa acceptable nga suggestion para sa mua kay enough gyud ang time nga gihatag sa ilaha. Synchronous mana siya dayon pagkahapon kay asynchronous dayon. So gi-design gyud namo na siya nga mahuman siya sa asynchronous and mapasa nila sa deadline. Something like that. So ana ba? So gamay na lang meaning siguro nag-improve gyud ang kaning worksheets kay gamay na lang may ni suggest pero sa mga suggestion kanang dili siya kanang pwede i-compromise pag yun ana bitaw. So mauto siya dayon best practice kay siguro for this particular challenge lang siya no best practice siguro kay gi-involve man gud ang pag-ask sa feedback from the learners in a formative way. So ana bitaw kay first time good nga inflex, first time pud mi ga worksheets, sakto ba niya mo ginabuhat? Okay ra ba kani sa ila? So inana siya. So then kuan man pod moms and sirs kanang sa ko based sa ko ang kuan sa ko ang assessment sa ilaha kay usahay man gud tungod kay kanang dili klaro instruction dili pod mao ilang pagka-answer ana bitaw or inana ba so pag-abot pod nagkadugay ang quarter nagkadugay ang worksheets na set nakuha na mo among goal nga kung unsa to instruction mao gito ilang ma-follow kung ana bitaw so nagka-improve gyud siya nga kuan nga worksheet. So ana siya in order to meet their needs then ang process kani siya nga process nga gibuhat actually ako ra mo gyud nagbuhat ani gave our learners the opportunity to contribute to the design ambot og ma-fall ba ni sa design thinking murag dili man siguro pero at least ba ang ilahang level of involvement is kanang lalom-lalom kay kani siya nga output ani nga kuan ilahang involvement is kuan man magamit na pod sa next na pod pohon nga mga kuan students. So mao lang na sa akong ma-share sa kani siya nga part. And mao ni siya ako lang i-share siguro ang bag-o na nga worksheet. So dili man gyud sa ingon nga bongga kayo or something. Pero ingon ani na iyang dagway no kanang nanay color gamay black and white pa man to ganiha for emphasis. Dayon gi-plaster ang instruction day dapat nasa sa sugod na tanan na ana di tanan na instruction day simplified na kayo na siya. Di na siya lengthy na kayo. Mura na gid ang pinakamubo nga makaya ba nga dali ra sabton gyud pod. So ana nausab gamay ang mga parts dayon ang mga instruction mubo na jud siya kayo then ang mga pointing system na ana diya tanan so kaning worksheet gi-design pud siya nga pwede gyud siya asynchronous kay kami pud naningkamot pud mi nga dili magsigig atubang ang bata sa kuan pwede siya ma-print kumbaga ba pwede siya ma-print pero kinahanglan gyud siya internet kay download man kinain ang videos pud kinahanglan gyud pud siya nga gamitan internet pod. Pero pwede man to ma-download dayon i-watch later, something like that. So naningkamot ni ba nga ang kani nga worksheet kung mahimo ma-lessen pod ang ilahang exposure sa kaning screen time nila. Ana siya. So maura to siya akong ma-share din. Salamat jud kaayo sa Buka and to everyone.
Alright, mayong udto sa tanan and I guess niulan na diri sa mong dapit. I hope that my audio is still clear. So there's a lot to say, there's a lot to share, there's a lot of learning that happened in the breakout rooms. I know, so dili na nato dugayon kay murag gigutom na pud ang kasagara sa ato. Akong tawagon our very supportive and very dynamic Dean, Ma'am Ami, the floor is yours for the synthesis.
Sige. Maka-synthesis ko ani. Mayong buntag sa tanan. And I'm very happy with with the presentation. And thank you, Rhea, for the plenary talk, no? That challenges us on how to improve the way how we implement. Actually, we call it community of learning. And so here we are as a community, sharing our daghang kay niingon nga dili man nasayop man siguro akong chairperson no anong ako lang gipili. So dili man ni best practice akong gihimo. So actually everyone is, let's claim it, everyone had a best practice, no? Kay lisod biya kay itong panahon when we start teaching during the pandemic. And I'm so glad with all the presentation, and this is my reflections as an reflection. Very quick lang. Actually, dagang kay kong presentation here because I'm also preparing for 2 o'clock meeting, which I need to have a presentation nga wala pa minaandam. Okay. So I'm so happy with the presentation because I guess in every presentation you really reflected on our curriculum design, and some of you have mentioned our framework. So this is our framework since we are presenting this last June 2020. We are here in the school and our students are at home. And we are thinking about the different categories of our learners, the category 1, category 2, and category 3. And we are proposing as a College of Education that the way how we do this is we are using this, the REACH framework, where we will try to make sure that the outcome will be achieved by identifying relevant outcome, engaging activities, achievable, thinking about the resources that we have, and as well as the goal of the course, and as well as on time, no? We must have a very clear instruction as well as assessment, and we will plan it holistically. And as you could see, although nanata there is a second circle, and there is a second circle, so we plan on it, we implement, and we try to reflect what happened now. If you have noticed that, we try to implement what happened. We listen to our colleagues, we listen to our the same subject na nag-teach with us. So now let's think about how do we improve it? How do we revise our lesson plan? And I hope the department chairperson are here. Please consider that you will still give the same loading to our faculty members because they already started on how to prepare the syllabus, and not only giving them the same subject. I hope we plan ahead on what will be their teaching load for first semester so that they could prepare, they could now start planning and then start implementing, and then as well as improving their practice on how we do the inflex modality. I know that chairperson are here, so I hope we could prepare ahead because as 40 faculty members are here, they are listening and they are reflecting on how to improve how we teach during this pandemic. And I know the sharing of Rhea, thinking together through community of practice. Let's try to work together with the saying that together we can achieve more. So let's continue share our concerns in implementing our innovative flexible modality through, I don't know, Roxanne will still plan on how often is this Buka Talk. Buka means it's open. And this is how we improve ourselves. And then let's learn together on how to implement it better. So maybe by in terms of administration, maybe we are a bit delayed on giving the teaching loads, but I'm so glad with the faculty member. They also understand how administrators adjust to it. And you also help us that even though we have limited time, but everyone have tried their best. But with this one, we discussed this in our exicom, that it is really, really very important that the way on how we support you is paningkamutan karon na early tanan ang teaching loads as well as unsa pa paningkamutan no. I don't know unsay progress atong paghatag sa laptop, but there will be coming laptops for everyone para support sa kadaisa nato. So most of the resources that we have used, many of us, and I'm so amazed that we are doing video recording. We are using Gmeet, record it, and put it in our mole. And I'm so glad that most of the presenters, although this are best practice, but I know that for those who are listening, wala pa naggamit og mole, I know that there's always a mentor that could help you. So these mentors are just our colleague, just text them and then please help me out that by next semester, I will make a mole for myself, not only Facebook. Although you have mentioned that you've used Facebook and as well as other resources. So there are offline resources where you also prepare that for your students para ma-download nila daan. Ang uban kay gibutan nila sa isa ka place. And here the electronic books, YouTube resources also. These are the resources being used. Actually, wala kayo naka-arrange sa consults, but this is what I have here for assessment. That many of us nag-check ta sa ato mga outputs at the end of the semester. And then we found out nga mag-cram data, mag-follow up sa ato mga estudyante. So it is recommended that maybe we could improve on checking the outputs based on the unit, no? Per unit check dayon para ma-reminded nato sila. In that case, we will know kinsa pay kailangan na help na students if we do monitoring through our assessment that we will give feedback to our students. So I notes kanina that assessments gives feedback to teachers and students. No? So it would be better that if we check the outputs of our student, not only at the end of the semester, but maybe we could think about katong kung maghatag na tag grade about prelim, midterm, and then finals. I don't know, no? Before, kailangan man nato na buhaton. I don't know if we could still implement it now. Sa 9 weeks. So maybe that's a good reflection, but I don't know on how do we help ourselves that we could do that in our next semester implementation. Portfolio is also recommended during this time on the application of concepts learned. On the curriculum design, actually, I'm so glad with most of your sharing kay katong mga curriculum design nga atong recommend sa atong training, the design backward or the backward curriculum design, thinking about the course learning outcomes, and then maybe katong PPSDA na to or katong or nagtanaw ba ta sa LET kay mag-take mong good board ato mga bata. So do we also look at the katong mga dapat e-example sa LET, no? So identify important learning outcome. It is very important also for us to improve our curriculum design. We will collaborate with peers. Labi na on, wala pa nato naabot, although we have mentioned this, that maybe a department could talk about for example, sa DPRE, na ilang kanang professional ed courses nato. So basing napay nag-overlap sa mga learning outcome. So we may want to, I don't know, but it is just only a recommendation. Maybe collaboration with peers and other experts could help us out on the identifying the important learning outcomes. It was mentioned in one of the sharing that the inputs of the webinar that we have conducted is very helpful also. And I shared it to about authentic learning design on how to implement it in their class. So therefore, we are challenged as administrator that let's continue looking for expert and then have webinars on how do we improve ourselves on in terms of instructional design. Actually, for this year, nag-start nag-istorya ang team with inclusive designing of inclusive learning materials. We are thinking of a visiting professor on that, no? So dako di gamit, I'm so glad na dako di siya use ang katong mga webinars na atong gikandak. Thank you for listening to the inputs and as well as implementing it in our practice. Actually, ang inyong sharing karon, mo nagingon ni Ray kanina, the data of the sharing now, which ang inyo pong i-share is ang data based on your students output is also very important. So maybe kung ma-learn na nato ang skill and doing action research, Rhea, that will be a good data on how to improve our community of practice. So pwede na siya database po. Okay? So actually, ano siya? Last slide. So, primero na ito mag-implement, we try to dive na wala ta kabalo kung kabalo bagid ta mo swim, no? Like what we are doing now. We don't really know if we really know how to teach remotely, no? And kaning innovative bagid ta. Wala bagid ta kabalo. But still, need dive gihapon ta. We don't know how deep it is, but still we are learning, no? So, let's continue plan, put it into action, listen from other people, reflect what happened, and then think of an improvement. So kung unsa may data ato nakuha sa atong mga estudyante, let's try to implement it for the second year, no? So basi nakabalo na ta unsa atong mga estudyante. So let's listen to our students the previous semester. And then let's improve our swimming skill. Let's improve our teaching skill during the second year. And maybe, hopefully, by next year, makasalom na ta. Dayon, salom na po, no? So, makaginhawa na tagamay. So thank you very much. So, I hope, again, we could do this together. Together, we could do more. And let's help each other during this pandemic, and please do take care of yourself. I'm very optimistic na mauman na nato ni siya, and I'm very sure kung mauman ang pandemic, daghan kay tag innovation sa College of Education. So I'm so proud all of you. For those who nag-share, thank you very much. For those nga wala nag-share, thank you very much. I'm so proud to all of us, because here we are as a community learning together and then ready to innovate for the next academic year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Ami, for a very inspiring, at the same time, very valuable synthesis of those presentations. And I think that we can take that as our direction, no? For our college and our departments. And once again, thank you everyone for being here with us.